Yeah, we're live. Okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar on MI. Yeah, my name remains Tayo Steven. So my co-presenter, Michael, will be handling the presentation at the end of the day, and I'll come and handle a part of it. So why are we doing this? We are doing this as part of our own contribution to help as many as possible pass the ICAN exams. So although we will not be solving question here, we will not be solving question here, but we'll be going on to discuss um, quite a number of techniques and issues that you should get dealt with when you enter the exam hall. All right. So remember, the exams are all about questions. So exams are all about questions. So the various verbs that they use in the exam, we're going to be examining them. So if you are on this live call, please leave your name on the comment section and tell us where you are joining us from. Yes, Gabe. Hello, Gabe. How are you doing? Goodness, how are you doing? So where are you joining us from? Where is your location? So that we can acknowledge your presence and then we can kickstart the webinar. It promises to be an exciting time. Um, all right, from Lagos. Gabriel is from Lagos. What about Goodness? Where are you joining us from? Yeah, Goodness, waiting for you. All right, where are you joining us from, Goodness? Okay, Moses is from Lagos. Welcome, Moses. So who else is there? So as soon as you come in, please leave your name, leave your where you are joining us from, and then we'll acknowledge you. Goodness is from Port Harcourt. I say Governor Wike. All right. So let's jump right into it and start. So Michael, the floor is yours.
All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. I trust you're having a wonderful weekend. So, my name is Michael Anate. So, I will be your facilitator for MI. As you know, we plan to have this webinar today, and at least you started. So, if anyone needs to be here, you have a friend, you have a colleague, you have a friend enemies that needs to be here, please share the link with them. You're not paying any cost any time. Let them also benefit from what we're benefiting today. So it's not too late to call them, send an SMS to them so they can join the session. So the essence of this webinar is just to share with us some ingredients, some secrets that would put us in a good trajectory towards our exam in some weeks time. So like the uncle said, I'm not sending any questions. I'll do my best to show you how you need to answer questions, how you need to touch questions and answer them adequately. So let us start. Permit me to share my screen.
Okay, so while we're waiting for Michael to share his screen, if you are just joining us, please leave your name and where you are joining us from on the comment section so that I can acknowledge your presence as we go along. I see a number of people have also joined us. Please leave your name and where you are joining us from in the comment section. Okay, back to you, Michael.
All right, thank you. So, welcome to ICAN webinar success webinar. Management information is one of the interesting topics in the foundation level of ICAN examinations. So let us start. Just to introduce once again, Michael. So let's have your name. I'd love to know where you are live from, so I can say it to you. I'm live from Lagos, Nigeria. So let me know so I can can acknowledge you as we continue with doing the X session. So our objective at the end of this webinar, you should be expected to understand and appreciate one, effective time management. Also, reviewing, understanding, and analyzing questions requirements carefully, which is one of our areas we would be spending time on. Also, we are now the third objective is that you should also appreciate how to structure answers to earn more marks. So let us start. Don't forget that the first one is the effective time management, reviewing, understanding, and analyzing question requirements carefully, and also structuring answers to earn more marks. So let's move. So let's look at it. So Now we discovered that one of the issues students who do have in the examination is that many of them don't have a good grasp of the question that has been asked before they answer it. A lot of them tend to understand it after they've answered the question, when they are now after they've submitted their answer booklet. So this is one of the things we really want to stop. This is one of the reasons why we are pushing this webinar to say that our students are ahead of others in terms of understanding what the examiner wants. So our goal is to bridge the gap between um examiner expectations and student performance. So our goal is to show many of us have been preparing, they've been solving questions, many of us have acquired video lectures and you've been watching a lot of videos to see that you scale this exam. So it is important that you guys are preparing for the exam as well. There are some important tips that you need to gain, need to have at your own at the back of your hand so you can help you to do well in the examination. So understand the question. Many questions though should not member is one of the easiest topic to pass in this stage, and I believe that if you do your due diligence well, definitely God's going to back what you are, what is going to meet in your hand. So I believe that if you do your due diligence and with our resources, with our weekly weekly lectures and also other resources, I believe that you're going to put you in a good position in examination. So understand the question requires you to know. So questions could come in any of these formats. You can when be asked to analyze, calculate, compare, criticize, define, describe, explain, list, prepare, recommend, the state, summarize, what are the reasons, different state differences, expatiate, discuss, briefly explain, discusses, requirements, cases, IRAC code, one of the area we'll be looking at also. But we also have to examine, distinguish, identify. Of course, your questions a bit involve calculation and also the IT part of MI. So let's move to the next slide. Now, so understand the question. So when the question is being when answering an exam question in an exam, it's important that you consider the question the requirement carefully to understand exactly what is being asked. So there are some people that all the examiner wants is just the ability to listen and read the question carefully. Question might just ask you to just do this thing and just stop at that point. Or because you feel that okay, for all the questions you've solved, once you have done this part, you all need to do is go and start doing the other parts because that has been the trend of previous past questions. But now the examiner just wants to just do the first part and leave others. But because you didn't go through the questions, you didn't go through the questions carefully. You just felt that you assume that that's what the examiner wants from you. Fine, you might do that to your boss. You might definitely reduce the mark you're going to get because you are going against you are exceeding the scope or the requirements of what the examiner wants from you. So at this point, it's best better that you explain of it. Of course, you know that once your question paper is being served to you, in a month from now, no, in 2 months' time. So you will be given 15 minutes to go through the questions. This requires you to go through the questions, fill the question, look at the ones you're going to answer, look at the one that you know, not all those things, look at the requirements. All these things are expected. I mean, students that they don't even go through the question, all they just go through, look at the question that is easy and cheap for them to solve. Fine. Why doing that? It's also expected of you that you should look at why fetching those questions. You should understand what the examiner wants from you. Do you understand? So when you are able to when you're able to close that gap, it helps you to deliver well. People don't just score 99. People don't just become. You don't just win award in ICAN examinations. Many of them go through a lot of scrutiny. They do their due diligence. They get their tips. They prepare well, and that this is a desire that you also do well in this examination. So that's why we're taking our time to see that you understand these things. You understand these things, and it's going to help you do well. So let's move to the next part. So that I can tell you, questions could come in different formats. I remember it's an interesting topic, and I loved talking about that. I believe that so far you should be able to, if you are with us, you should be able to have gained a lot of things as regards MI. So one of the remember which is in fixed scenarios is to analyze. So when you're talking to analyze, what the examiner wants from you is that and when you see the word analyze, it entails you breaking the question into separate parts, ensure you discuss and interpret each part, and lastly relate the exam question to the scenario provided. So in this instance, in this way of told to analyze, you don't just list, don't just explain, you don't just define. You're told to come and talk to me like a professional, though you're still in your level one, but you can still handle these questions and discuss. If you told to interpret, if you told to link it to a particular scenario, you can do that so that to ensure that the examiner will be recipient of your answer understand where you're coming from. Do you understand? So the next angle is why. So Application like entails we putting into action the law requirement in the given case scenario. You are going to relate the authorities you have used with the facts of the case. So most times you can't apply what you don't know. So many of us have taken time to prepare. Of course, if you're told to get the break-even point unit for a particular product, and we've given the information to you, but if you don't know the formula for break-even point, you can't apply it. Do you understand? You know, formula for breaking point of in unit, which is fixed cost of contribution per unit. So if you understand when you know these things, you can now apply it. So that is what application is all about. In most cases, you just have to just apply what you've known. You may thought maybe doing when we get to the other code, you might don't use a SWOT analysis to answer this question. So if you don't understand SWOT analysis, you're able to apply it in that case. Now the next one is assess. So this requires that you this entails determine the strengths, weaknesses, importance, significance of to a given question. So this is also open-ended questions whereby you're able to fish out those strengths, those weaknesses, and those things you feel that they have got priority and you need to touch them and hammer them to help you do well in your examination. Now the next part is calculate, and this is one of the important areas that you can run from. Of course, most of there's no my questions at least more than 20% of the questions will be calculative, with calculation. So it's important that you prepare yourself well, you understand what it is. Now, when I to calculate, it entails computing using mathematical process of determining the value of an outcome. So this requires you, of course, there's format, there's a way to analyze this. Look at this example type question now. The example I want you to calculate the unit cost for each of the three products using the traditional absorption costing method, also the activity-based cost and approach. So you need to understand this too. So then you need to use the method, use the traditional absorption methods, do your calculations. Of course, you have your direct materials at label, then do that for the cost you are done. But you go to get the unit production cost for each of the product, which I believe you would know the question would have given before now. Then the of course activity-based costing approach. Once you're done with one, you can't do that. So all these ones will work calculations, ensure that your work is properly is aligned, and if you want to split this paid into, but it's fine do them according to of course 8 marks are allocated to this. So everything has stages. And the more you get this right, the better it is to earn these marks. So comments. So if you are told to comment, then tells you include an explanation, illustration, or criticism in your answer. So that is just it's just which is always feel as regards this line. Now compare. This does entails explaining the similarities and differences in the given scenario. So most times they were told to differentiate. For instance, now they require that you differentiate between absorption costing and activity based costing. So what you need to do, you can do it in a statement format or you can take it in tabular format, which of them. Now you're not told to list, you're not told to give the number, but you can look at it like let you know that it's kind of scenario that you can just give like maximum of five because you're going to be told at least, of course, you might see the marks that may allocated to. If they're more than five, you know them, but always spread it at five. If it's an open ended questions, you're not told to specific in your numbers. Do you understand that now? So, conclusion. So this entails ending your answer well in the case scenario. If you are giving a case scenario to solve and you are giving a report and to end at the point of it, give a conclusion. Come on, what do you think is what do you think it should do? What do you think that needs to be done, or what should be done to what we avoid to what we don't not to ensure that this thing we are called again the organization. So just your summary of you just give you your own position and most times you always back up your recommendation. Now criticize it entails analyzing a
Before you
situation
go
to
on,
identify.
hello, Michael.
Yes,
Sorry
sir.
for interrupting you. Before you go on, please, if you are just joining us, you need to please leave your name and where you are joining us from in the comment section so we can acknowledge your presence. Thank you for joining us in this exam success webinar. All right, back to you, Michael. Please go on.
All right. Thank you. So now to define. If you are told to define now, of course, many of us you've definitely come across this before. So you don't have to, you should know when you're told to define, when you're told to state, when you're told to explain and discuss. So those things they are different. They mean different things to the examiner. Most times define means to carry a few marks because the exam does not want you to spend most of your time to do that. So most time, most time, just give to paragraph definition. The first paragraph and give information from a school of thought of ones you've known, and you can also add your own definition if you have a one that can also shed more light. So it's going to be constant. If you give a one paragraph definition, it's fine. So, but it must be detailed and also concise as well, and must be relevant as well. Now, look at this question. Now, they are told to define computer software. So, a computer software is this, technique, this, and this. Fine, that's also, and most times, maybe 3, 4, or 5 marks that could be given to this kind of question. Now, describe. So, what we're supposed to describe, it entails giving a detailed account of qualities or features. Do you understand? So, exam type question is that you are told to describe and distinguish between information technology and information system. So, you have to describe it first. You have to describe those two things. You have to describe what information technology is, and also describe what information system is. So then you can now bring in the qualities. You can also and then distinguish in that case. Now discuss. Now, when I talk to sorry for that, when I talk to discuss, it entails examining in detail using arguments about the pros and cons of an issue. So, exam type question requires you to waste. Now, when I talk to discuss, you are not just told to, you're not just answering the questions by giving the explanation. You are expected to answer the question. To come and talk about the subject matter. Come and discuss it. Look at it from two different points of view, from the positive view, from the negative view, from the advantage, from the pro view, and from the cons view, so that you're able to give your position about that in that scenario. So an exam type question is like this. Looking at this question, I said in the modern business practice, widespread use of computer system and computer resources make security a critical priority. Required one, discuss computer security. Discuss, of course, you're not told to define, you're not told to explain. Discuss, not talk about computer security. What are the good sides to it? What are the bad sides to it? You understand? So most times people tend to use most times so maybe this kind of question can have like even like 10 marks, like 12 marks, like 15 marks, depending on how bulky the concept could be. Do you understand that now? So please take your time to talk about that because the exam requires to write a reasonable point, a reasonable view about that subject matter. So
All right.
evaluate exam
Thank you
requirement.
very much. Thank you very much. Sorry for interrupting you again. So Temitope is joining us. Thank you, Temitope, for joining us for this webinar management information. So where are you joining us from, please? So I think a number of more people have joined this webinar. Please indicate by stating your name and where you are joining us from in the in the comment section so that I can acknowledge your presence. Please indicate that in the comment section, your name and where you are joining us from. And if you have any question regarding the MI exam, please also leave it in the comment section. We'll try our best to answer them before we wrap up. All right, Temitope. Yeah, where are you joining us from, Temitope? Yeah, which town, which state, or which country? Maybe you have Japa and you are joining us from Canada. We would like to know because you can write the exam in Canada, in London, and in Cameroon, Ghana, I think so. So wherever you are joining us from, please indicate your name and where you are joining us from. Okay, it's joining us from Abule Ekpa, Lagos. Good. So if you have not indicated your name and where you are joining us from, please indicate that there. So Ayotunde from Lagos. Welcome, Ayotunde Yusuf. All right. Okay, so over to you, Michael.
All right. Okay. Once again, also appreciate you that joining us. Please do well to also share the link with one or two people that needs to be here. And I know that writing this examination it will also help them put them. You will also help them do well in the examination. So let us continue. So now we're looking at list. Now when took list in an exam question, what does list entails? List entails outlining different ideas, aspects, events, things, and qualities. Note, you're not expected to explain this situation. For instance, now this exam question requires you to list and describe vividly. So you can't just describe, you have to list them first. I believe you understand. So you have to list them first before you then answer. Then now the next part to explain. Now this is an important area people tend to confuse with definition. So when I told to explain, it entails making the answer clear, supporting it with enough details that are relevant, concise, and explanatory. So an exam type question requires you to explain the term computer forensic. So what does computer forensic is all about? So what they want you from you is that you explain, you don't just define, you talk about it. You're trying to explain to a layman, look at it, define the update, then talk about it extensively. Do you understand? So, but it was not be as bulky as discussion. Do you understand? That? But it also be considered an expansion. We just like to explain. Okay, this is what it's all about. Okay, is you can now break it down into levels or in detail so a person could understand it. Now, outline. So it entails explaining the highlighted points stated. So an exam question could be that outline the importance of management accounting. So you just need to just give list them and give a short explanation. Now recommend. Now this entails giving advice. So if in most cases it's always relating to case scenarios, or maybe for instance you did maybe an investment appraisal. You appraise the project and you felt that okay, I told to recommend what the manager should do, what the management should do. So based on the outcome of what you've done, if you happen to be, for instance, be using an MPV to evaluate the project, and so if you feel that okay, at the end of the period they had a negative MPV, then you can recommend, give it the advice that okay, based on the fact that they have a negative MPV, they should not they should not embark on such project because it's going to affect them on the long run. Do you understand? But if it happens to be the other way around, maybe it's a positive MPV, then you can give a recommendation by telling them what they need to do in that regard. Now, next part is state. Now, this state requirements your intent to explaining by focusing on the exact points. For instance, now you're told to state your advantages and disadvantages of expert systems. Now, another part is summarize. Now, summarize it entails giving a brief, condensed conclusion. So when you to summarize, don't take your time to be giving explaining of some things that are not relevant, but just give your and make your answer condensed, make it short, keep brief, and give a summary of what the whole matter. So most times it's usually common in most study questions. Now let's see the next slide. Now is the exam type question. So we are looking at the rule. We're looking at the IRAC principle, which is an acronym that depicts I for identification, R for rule, A for analysis, and C for conclusion. So we're going to apply this in this and the exam type question. Now look at the question now. It says Lakula Limited is a leading manufacturer of three telecommunications component frames, namely door, toy, and networks. The company uses a rational costing system to allocate production overhead to product using machine hours as a newly appointed cost accountant. So, as a newly appointed cost accountant, you propose that activity-based costing can provide a better allocation of production overhead to products than the current system. The following total production overheads for the last period were recorded by the cost accounting system, and cost drivers for each of the activity have been identified and mentioned. So, looking at they've given us the activity, the overhead, and the cost driver. Now, details of the three component frames and relevant information for the period are as follows. Then these are the products, and you're required to calculate the unit production cost of the product using one the traditional absorption costing method, and also the second one is to do that using the activity-based costing approach. Now, let's look at the principles. So, the first one is identification. So, let's make use of the IRAC principle to answer the question. But before, let's quickly look and explain how it works. So, the IRAC identification. So, the first of all, you need to identify absorption costing, what absorption costing, and also activity-based costing. So, you need to understand what it's all about. And if it's only when you know that they understand the concept, you can then apply them. Now, once you've identified, okay, I'm using that absorption costing to answer the first question. Once I'm done, I'll then use activity-based costing to answer the same question. So now rules from the above, you are expected to use the procedure and the process, yes, to also in traditional option costing and ABC, which ABC stands for activity-based costing, to solve the question. So of course they both have procedures and rules, and they want you to use. So that's why they are giving us that scenario. Now the third one is analysis. For analysis, you are expected to solve under the two different costing methods. So we solve questions, solve them according to the pattern, follow the procedure and solve them, and finally conclusion. So yeah, you are expected to conclude by providing the unit production cost of each of the three products. So that's the end result of what you are doing. At the end of it, you must be able to provide the product unit production cost of the three products that has been given above. So this is just what the IRAC principle is all about. You know, to identify what you are doing, know the rule, know what you have to do, the rule, then the analysis, which involves you doing the processing and other stuff. Then conclusion, which has to do with providing your answer, giving your own recommendation if you have to be written. Then other things that has to do with ending your part. Now, we are moving
Thank
to
you
time
very
management.
much. Thank you very much. Before you
Yeah.
continue on time management, yeah, I want to acknowledge the presence of Akinola from Lagos. Welcome, Akinola. So if you haven't told us where you are joining us from, we'd like to acknowledge your presence as we continue in the webinar. So please leave your name and where you are joining us from in the comment section. Okay, back to you, Michael. Please continue.
All right, thank you. So far we've been able to look at those like area of question that could be tested. Now, this part looking at effective time management, which is one of the important skills that will differentiate people that will do well in the examination and people that will not do well in the examination. So we all have limited resources time. So your ability to manage your time, ability to allocate your time to utilize your time effectively would go a long way in seeing that you pass this examination and also in other courses. Now let's start from the first. So effective time management. So um your approach to planning your time for the examination is crucial for computing the exam and ensuring the best use of time available. So your approach to planning your time for the exam is crucial for completing the exam and ensuring the best use of the time available. So timing, of course, your exam your exam is 3 hours 15 minutes. So it's 3 hours 15 minutes, but you have the 15 minutes to to go through what has been asked for, what to go through the questions and answer them very well. So look at the question. We're going to question. Look at the one you're going to pick. Look at your multiple choice questions. Look at the theory questions, and and answer them. Now, section A. So, section A consists, of course, this foundation courses are two sections. You have section A and section B. Section A consists of 20 multiple choice questions, which you are expected to answer. Or note, you don't need to spend much time on this section. 30 minutes is enough. Based on what I said, you can be able to use maybe 1 hour 20 minutes, 1 minute 20 seconds to answer, or 1 30 seconds to answer one question. So the goal is that each question you answer carries 1 mark. Do you understand that now? So that's the logic for multiple choice questions. I tell my students that spend more time, ensure that you do practice very well multiple choice questions because I can't tend to repeat more questions. Now, so the section B consists of 6 questions of 20 marks each. 6 questions of 20 marks each. So this part you're expected to answer just 4 questions. So with your own assessment, if you use 30 minutes per questions, you should be able to use utilize 2 hours to answer the questions, then 30 minutes to answer multiple choice questions. You have like 30 minutes to review and to allocate it to another area that might demand more time. So now also when you are so before I move to this next part, it is important to note that when you're solving a question, if you are given each of the questions 30 minutes. It's important that you don't exceed 30 minutes at that first attempt. For instance, now you look at the question, multiple choice questions, you've used 30 minutes to solve. So you want to use 30 minutes for each of the questions. Multiple choice questions, you're on 20, question 15, and you go to and say, you've used 30 minutes when you go to question 15. At that point in time, please stop. Please stop that point so that you won't spend more time from you won't by spending more time on multiple choice questions, you are shifting attention to the other questions that requires your time. So just stop, then you leave enough space to go back to it. Then go and start the section B and pick the questions and sort them by. Or if you are solving question one as well in section B, maybe question one, and you spend 29 minutes, please stop. Go and touch question, the other next question you are solving. So if you do that, if you apply that principle for all the questions you are attempting at first, you'll be able to touch all the questions. And attempting all the questions primarily is going to give you an edge for doing well in the examination. So if you touch all the questions, it gives you an edge in passing the examination. So if you touch those 4 questions and you've allocated 30 minutes, so if that the ones you didn't finish, then you have like 30 minutes to review. Then the excess pages you've left, you can go back there and complete the questions. For me, for instance, you stop in question 15, question one, you're almost done, but you're going to finish question two, question three, but you didn't finish question four. And if you allocated your 30 minutes to all those questions, so the extra time you now have, they can go back to question four, finish it, maybe you can use like 10 minutes, then finish it, go back to question one, use like 10 minutes to finish it, then you go back to question, multiple choice question, then use like 10 minutes to finish everything. So by then, you would have touched all the questions, you would have attempted all the questions that would fetch you an 100 marks. Worst case scenario, there's the worst case scenario is that you're going to have like 50. The best case scenario is you're going to have like 70, 80, or 90 because you attempt the question and if you do your work, you will really well. I believe you are following me, and I believe it has been a great one from your side. So let's also continue. Okay. So also when answering questions, ensure that you answer on new pages. Question one on new page, question two on new page. Now, same as question three and question four. Remember to leave enough space for each unit when within a particular question. Don't lump all your question answers together. Now, this is a professional exam now. I know you answer question in school is quite different from you answer question in the ICAN exam. So for instance, now every question should any question you're starting, any component start, let's start on a fresh page. For instance, you start starting on MCQ and your MCQ is question is 20 marks, and you've used like 20 rows in your answer book, and you still have like half page. Like I don't want this page to waste. No, it does not concern you. Or don't start your section B from that page. Go to page two. We go to the next leave and start your multiple choice question. They don't go back there. So every question is expected to be answered on a fresh page. Do you understand? So if you do question 2A, your section B, you did question 2A, question 2 has 2A, 2B, and 2C. And 2C that happen to fall in the second row of the next page. Don't and you still have like 18 to 21 rows and it's leave it like that. Don't go and bring question 3. Go start question 3 from a fresh page entirely. So that's the concept. So it's when you do these things, it makes your work neat. For instance, if maybe you make you didn't add some things and you've answered that questions. Now, when we want to go back to go and add that thing, because it left enough space, you'll be able to answer that thing very well. But if imagine you lump them up as you do question one, they left two rows, you go and start question two. Now, because you now question one, they have not added this part, you don't want to go and add question, and you see that there's no longer space again. You have to strike or cancel what you've done question one, then go and start question one in a new page. Then, of course, time is going to catch up with you. So in that regard, at least ensure that you leave enough space. Start a new question on a fresh page. Do you know, even though you start the page, maybe for instance question 2A, the last word heading in the first part in the new page. Leave the rest of that deep. You're gonna start question 3 in the next page entirely. So it makes your work neat. It gives you a time to go back to review your work and correct some mistakes you might have done in the past and other stuff. So that's what the logic about. It's going to help you do well. And so some people don't tend to manage their time in the examination. So for time management, your approach to planning your time for the exam is crucial for completing the exam and ensuring the best use of the time available. So the requirement should read the requirements of the question first before attempting the questions. Also, scan through the question paper to see the questions that you can easily answer and write down some of the points as they are coming to your mind. You can also do that at your back of your answer sheet or at least or at the last sheet. So time waster, don't waste too much time on the questions. Make sure you allocate time to each question when you exceed allocated time for each question and skip the question and go to the next one question. You can also come back to that later. Spacing. Leave enough space for the question you are not very familiar with or did not remember at that moment. So always start with the questions you can easily answer. Now, to have to maximize your marks. So, of course, as regards the comments, most of the comments we got from our examiners, is that one of the comments we got from them is that candidates are advised to read the study material and study how we go to study pack and solution pack as well. Candidates also major pitfall was their shallow understanding of the subject matter topics. Many people might even understand, but because because they don't take time to understand, they are going to answer the question in a way that is going to be to their own disadvantage. Also, candidates are advised to answer case study more questions more in a more structured approach. Also, study good solution contains relevant case studies and solutions. So your multiple choice questions is this. You have section, you also have your overall question. So looking at how to maximize the mark. For instance, I told you define computer forensic. State two types of computer forensic. State list five techniques used in forensic process and briefly describe each of them. So everything that's looking at. So one of the exam type, the comment you got from the examiner is that examining report states that these questions test candidate knowledge on computer forensic and social networking. So the question was attempted by about 60% of the candidates, and the performance was just fair, as about 50% of those who attempted the question scored 50% or above of the marks allocated. Many candidates lack a good grammatical construction and ability to define terms correctly. So candidates are advised to take the information technology aspect of the subject more seriously in the future and improve on their English grammar. So that's one of the issues many students used to have. So also the examiner state that candidates major pitfall was their incomplete understanding of the applicable principles, and candidates are advised to use Starry Gold Academic Study Pack and Solution Pack. Our solution will help you ace the exams you want sitting. So
All
are
right.
these just
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Michael.
yes, sir.
You've done a very brilliant job.
Thank you.
So I think I should give you a very good hand of applause. So if you want to join me to give a good hand of applause to Michael, please do that in the chat box. Let's have your comments, your feedback. So did you get anything of value from this? So let's get your comments and feedback before I do my own side of the presentation. So I'm waiting for you. Are you there? Did you get anything of value from this? I'll be interested in seeing what you got from us here. All right. So I'm waiting. I am waiting. Yeah, did you get any? Yeah, there are quite a handful of people in the class today. So let's know what's your time? If this is your first time of preparing for MI exam, is it what's your time? Okay.
So let's let us know if it was your time. Let's know if you got value from ourselves. Okay, it's back.
Hello. Sorry, I guess I click on the wrong button and then it kicked me out. Sorry about that. Okay, let me share my screen while I wait for others to give us their comments. So, yeah, Michael, please give me feedback if you are seeing my screen.
Yeah, I can
Beautiful.
see your
So,
screen.
um, this is the exam for May diet. I guess I thought I have a current one I can even use. That's, yeah, let me use a very current one here. The May 2022 diet. So we're looking at MI should be page 33. Okay. So this is May 2022 diet, and we'll see here that we're looking at time management in the exam. You are giving 3 hours, 1 quarter hours in the exam, which means you are giving 3 hours and 15 minutes extra. The 15 minutes extra is for reading time. You are not expected to start working as at that time. All right. So you have your 15 minutes to do. What do you do with this? It's called reading time. So there are how many sessions are here? I want to suspect that there are. This is session B, and okay, so there are just 2 sections. There are some of the papers where the sections are 3, particularly in the skill level. All right, so the first thing you do is to use your 15 minutes judiciously, but you must first read the instruction. Why should you read the instruction? Like I said in the previous class, there was an interview, a test exam that was conducted for a group of people. for those group of people, they were given the question and answer sheet. So the instructions said, write your name and submit your answer script. So, so just one person got there. I mean, when they said it's time to start, just one person stood up, went and submitted his answer script. Others were looking at him and say, "Oh, this one probably didn't know what to write, and so he has given up." So the 3 hours for the test passed, and then they collected the answer script from everybody. So everybody else failed except the first person that submitted immediately. Why? The instructions say write your name and submit your answer script. It did not say answer any question. So the person who did that was the person that passed that test. So, so I'm not saying that ICAN will do the same thing here. No, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that read the instruction. So section A is multiple choice question for the foundation level across board. Then it says you are required to attempt all questions in this session. Write only alphabet A, B, C, D, or E that correspond to the correct option in each of the following questions to answer. So there are, how many questions are there here in section A? There are 20 questions, and each of them possibly carry 1 mark. All right. So always read the instruction. That's what you use your 15 minutes to do. But should you now start reading all of these 20 questions in section 1? No. Skip that and go to section 2. Section B here says open-ended question 80 mark. You are required to attempt any 4 out of the 6 questions in this session. What does that mean? So there are 6 questions, you are required to answer just 4. What about if you know all the 6 and you answer more than 4 and you answer 5 or 6 of them? What will the examiner do? What they will do is that they will look at the one, they will mark everything, right? They will going to mark everything, but they will pick the best 2 that you have and they will strike it off. They will cancel it. So if you, why will you be penalized for that? You'll be penalized because you did not follow the instruction. So back to what should you do with your 15 minutes? So you read the instruction and you read the requirements of the question. Don't read the body of the question. Since question 1 is compulsory, there's no point reading it because you cannot start answering the question if the invigilator have not given you the time to go ahead. So your 15 minutes is to read the requirement and to read the instruction and the requirement of the question so that you can choose out of these 6 in section B the 4 that you want to answer. Even at that, don't start by reading the body of the question. Look at this now, question 1. Look at all the body of the question. Then the requirements say you are required to prepare the overhead analysis, allocating and apportioning costs to the 3 production departments and giving the last 4 digits from the reciprocal apportionment to the spinning and weaving department. So this is a requirement. Now, if you are confident that this is one of the questions you want to handle, which is overhead costing, then you tick it. I say, yes, I'm confident I can answer this. But don't go ahead reading the body of the question because you'll be wasting time. Then you go to question 2. And question 2 doesn't have all the storylines that you have for question 1. Here it simply says you should prepare. Oh, sorry, I hope I got it right. Yes, question 2. Where are you? Yes, question 2 have the storyline. I beg your pardon. It also have the storyline. No, what's happening? Oh, okay. Okay. Now, question 2 doesn't have more storyline. That's the first part, and the first part here doesn't have more storyline. And it says here, state 3 problems associated with site and contract work and list 2 ways to mitigate against them. So this question here is asking 2 in 1. One, it says state 3 problems associated with site and contract. And then 2, it says list 2 ways to mitigate against them, and that's 5 marks. So if you state the 3 problems, then each of them go for 1 mark. Then if you state the 2 ways to mitigate against them. Each of them go for 1 mark. That's how you get the 5 mark here. So these are what we now call easy mark in the exam. So you read through that requirement. If you are comfortable with that, read the B part and see whether you can also answer the B part. But the B part seems to have a lot of, it seems to have a body in it. So you jump through that and go to the requirements of the B part. And what is the requirements here? So let me go back here. So this is a very rare question where the requirement is in the body. You say from the following year, from the following information related to the just concluded financial years and other data extracted from the records of the company, you are required to prepare account for the 2 contracts using the columnar format. So here is a very rare question where the requirement come before the body of the question. So however, like I said earlier, this is about contract accounting, so contract costing. So if you are familiar with that, you want to tick it as part of what you will do. Then question 3 has a body to the question, and then it also have requirement. You go to the requirement. The requirement here say prepare the statement of profit and loss using full absorption costing. The B part says prepare the statement of profit and loss using marginal costing. The C part says prepare closing inventory valuation on bold basis. The D part says state and explain the difference between A and B. A and B here means the solution you have in A and the solution you have in B, and there are 20 marks. So if you want to answer this one, absorption, marginal costing is where to go here. So if this is a question you want to answer, you tick that. And you do the same for the rest. The question 4, luckily, does not have a lot of body to the question. So explain the difference among the internet, extranet, and intranet. Explain the difference. Usually, these are easy mark questions, question 4. And then the B part says, what is computer forensic? Explain 4 types of forensic investigation. Now, this place is 2 in 1. It's telling you to define what computer forensic is, and then 2, it's telling you to explain 4 types of that. So you must take note that there are 2 questions in 1 there. And then the C part says list 2 examples of server operating software, and then identify and explain 5 types of network topology. So once you read through and you are familiar and it's something you want to do, then you go for that as well. The same thing goes for question 5 and question 6. So that is what you do with your 15 minutes. Now, let's go to the next one. What do you now do with the remaining 3 hours? Now, I understand that ICAN do no longer allow you to wear wristwatch into the exam, right? When I was preparing for this, when I was doing my ICAN exam, they used to permit us to use wristwatch then. But I think the reason why they don't permit wristwatch again is because, you have smartwatches, and smartwatches allows you to, you can download a whole lot of question and solution into the smartwatches. Smartwatches are just like computer, and so they can produce the answers for you there. You can search the internet with some smartwatches and all that. So I can no longer permit you to wear wristwatch to the exam. However, there are wall clock. I hope they will be this time, but usually they are wall clock in the exam hall. So if there is none, then the invigilator may be the person you might be asking, how much time do I still have? But they should be. So the 3 hours that you have, what should you do with that? You see, then we move into that session now. Now, I go here. Now, if you can see my screen, yeah, Michael, just give me a feedback, please. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Thank you very much. So you see that there are 3 hours to the exam, for the exam. So 3 hours, you multiply that by 60 minutes to give us 180 minutes. So the total time you have is 180 minutes. So if we divide 180 minutes by 100 marks, it means you have 1.8 minutes per mark. 1.8 minutes per mark. So I go back to the question again. So in the exam now, how should you answer this? So the session A, that has 20 questions, presumably 1 mark per question. How much time should you spend per question? So let's do the math. 1.8 minutes is what you should spend. And what will 1.8 minutes give us? 0.8 times 60 plus 60. So we have 108 seconds. 108 seconds is what makes up 1.8 minutes. So if you are checking the time, you make sure you don't spend more than 1.8 seconds in the session A for each of the questions that you have in the session A of this question. You don't spend more than that. Then, so I just skip through all of this. And then I go to the other part, that is the session 2. In the session 2, you see, you are giving 20 mark here for question 1. So how should you handle that? 1.8 times 20, it means you should not spend more than 36 minutes in any of these questions because they all carry equal mark here. So question 2 here is A and B. The A part is carrying 5 marks. How much time should you spend? 1.8 multiplied by 5 gives us 9 minutes. It means you must not spend more than 9 minutes on this. And like Michael explained earlier, once your time is up that you have allocated for that particular topic, for that particular question, or for that particular sub-question, please move to the next question. Do not wait or do not waste time. So make sure you allocate time to every of the questions, including the sub-question. Like here, question 5 has A, B, C, and D. If you are going to do that, make sure you allocate time. Just multiply the time. 1.8 times 3, that means that 5.4 minutes is what you must spend for the first one. Usually, if I were the one writing this exam, I would not spend the whole of 5.4 minutes. I will spend 5 minutes and save the other 4 minutes to make sure that I touch every other aspect. So once you have done that, then you would have properly allocated your 3 hours. Then when you are finished, you can quickly go back again and start reading through your answers and correct any punctuation and correct any error you might find that you have made while you are writing the exam. All right, so having said that, I come back to my answer sheet. Then the session B, you don't have to actually start. I'm going to show us how to answer this very well. I'm just scrolling through here to quickly show us. Yes, I'm there now. This is session A. Remember, session A is objective. So you have to write 1 to 20 on your answer sheet and put session A there. So as you are going through the session A, anyone you don't know, please skip it and move quickly to the next answer. You can see to the next question. You can see here question 8. I presume that I didn't know it, so I skipped it. I also did the same for 11. And if you go to the next page, I do the same for 17 and 20, right? So anyone that you don't know, don't waste time. Don't waste time in it, right? Just move to the next question and then leave that one blank, right? But before you submit your question, make sure you come back and guess the answer. Why should you leave it blank? When you start going through the other session, it's very likely you will come across tips, idea about that topic that will give you a cue to what that answer should be. You can quickly come back and fill it. But just before you submit your answer script, make sure you look through all of these and guess an answer into it. Because if you don't guess, you'll score 0 in that. And if you guess, you have the likelihood of guessing right. Yes, there's no negative marking in ICAN. All right, for the session B, you don't have to start them in chronological order. Like Michael said earlier, start with the easiest. So like I put it here, you see what I did here? This is session B. See what I wrote here? You put session B, question 3A. Don't come and start 3B on the same sheet, right? Particularly if you want to leave space, you understand 3B very well, and that's what you want to handle. Don't start it at the middle here. You can see I cross this up and say, this is a big no. Why? And I cross this. So, and I tick this. If you leave your space here, make sure you leave enough space. You don't have to even start with 3A. You can come to the next page and put 3A continue and leave the space and come and start 3B here. So if you write your 3B and you are satisfied with that, you continue in the next page here, and you can come and start your 3C and so on and so forth. So if you see carefully the way I number this, you find out that I don't have to start in chronological order. So as soon as I finish 3D, if number 5 is your next answer, next question you can answer easily, you can go there and then start answering it, as you can see here. All right. Having said that, yes, then make sure you write legibly. If you write illegibly, that means your handwriting cannot be well read by the marker. They won't make effort to try to interpret what you have written. They will just strike it out and move to another question. You remember that each marker mark only one question. So the person that is marking question 5 marks only question 5 all through the script, right? So you just make it easier for them. So make sure you write legibly and so on. The last part I want to leave before I close here is another thing I want to bring to our attention when you are in the exam hall. Make sure you don't leave empty space in between your answers. Look at this now. This is question 4 that I've labeled. And then between question 4 and question 2, there's a space in between. If that is what you find in the exam hall, make sure you write something like this, continue next page, so that the examiner will not presume that you have stopped there and then he moves on to, the marker will not presume that that's where your answer ends. So remember, they will be searching for their own question that they want to mark, each of the markers. All right. Yes, having said that, I think that brings me to the end of what I want to say. So Michael, you can please share your screen so that we can then wrap up the session. Yes, Michael, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Please share your screen. Yes. Yeah, you can go to, thank you very much. All right, so what material should you use for your exam? Yes, I'll be closing by telling you, by recommending that you should use video lecture. And the video lecture you should use in particular should be Starry Gold Academy video lecture. And since this is the foundation level of the exam, right? The foundation level, this might even be your first time of doing the exam. So if you use video lecture, it helps you save time. So if you get the video lecture, we have also done 12 diet past questions that we have solved and put into the videos. So you will get that as a bonus. Not only that, the ICAN pack, we've extracted all the questions in this ICAN pack and solved them and also added them to the video lectures. You also get that. So if you get our video lecture, make sure you go through that at least 2 times before the exam, right? Why should you go through it twice before the exam? If you go through it twice before the exam, you are more likely to remember it when you enter the exam hall, right? You are more likely to remember it when you enter the exam hall. If you have been listening to music in the past, even music that you don't like, right? Even music that you don't like, if you have been listening to them, over time, you will find out that the music will start playing back in your mind when you are at rest, when you are not doing anything. So that philosophy or that principle, that psychology is what comes to play if you go through the video lecture at least 2 times before your exam. Then if you still have time, you can now add every other material that you have. You can add any other material. But if you want to save time, make sure you make use of the video lecture. And of course, we have the Telegram class where our lecturers are there to answer your question. So if you go through the video lecture and you have any question you don't understand, you can come to the Telegram class and ask them every week as we go along. But that's not all. We also give you the blueprint that helps you cover the entire syllabus within 30 days. So that's what you also get in addition to that. All right. So if you don't have the video lecture, the number on the screen are the number you have to call, text, or send a WhatsApp to. So if you call when we have and nobody is speaking, it's very likely we have shut down, we have closed for the day. If you send a WhatsApp message and nobody have responded, it's very likely we have closed for the day. If you send a text message and nobody responds, it's the same reason. But when we resume the next working days, we'll definitely respond to either your call, we'll call you back, or we'll send you reply to your WhatsApp or your text message. So if you don't have the video lecture, there it is for you to the number that are shown on your screen for you to write them down and then call those numbers and make use and contact us. So on that note, I come to the end of this webinar. So I will hand you over to Michael. I don't know if Michael has anything to say. So if you have anything to say, you want to give us a reaction there, give us a reaction in the comment section. Tell us about how you have found the webinar. If you found it useful, kudos. Just give us a reaction so that we'll know that you find value in it. So Michael, back to you.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say,
All
sir.
right,
I'm
all
fine,
right.
sir.
So I will still wait for a few minutes. If you have anything to say, please go ahead and leave your comments there in the comments section. All right. Leave your comment there in the comment section before I call it a day. All right. Yeah, Michael, you need to stop sharing your screen. I'm not sure you have stopped sharing. All right. Okay. All right. Goodness, I enjoyed it. Bitsy, I have a question. Go ahead, post your question. Okay, but I have a question. Go ahead and post your question. So let's know, is it only Goodness that enjoyed the session? Is it only Goodness that enjoyed the session? So go ahead, Goodness, and type in your question before I call it a day. Our time is already up. So while we're waiting for that, let's entertain other comments from other participants. So if you have enjoyed the session, let us know. If you have a question, please post it in the comment section. Okay, still waiting for you. Yeah, is there anybody there? Okay, so in the absence of any, we'll bring this session to a close and close the Goodness. I've waited for your question, but I haven't seen it. I'll give one more minute. I'll give one more minute. All right. So while we're waiting for Goodness to type in a question, I'm sharing my screen here so that, yeah, I'm sharing my screen so that if you have not taken you have not gotten the number is there on the screen for you to write it out and then contact us. All right. Okay. Okay, Goodness says, I was told that each marker cut their answer sheet to the mark. Well, I don't know whether that is true. So that explains why you shouldn't write two questions into the same sheet. But that shouldn't be a problem if that's what they do. But like I said, one marker mark only one question. There's one person that mark only question 2, another person mark question 3, and so on and so forth. All right. So having answered that, I bring this to a close. I say thank you and God bless you. I wish you success in your exam and wish you all the best. Take care. Bye.